Why did America suddenly slash tariff on Indian goods from 50% to 18%? Is there is a massive profit in it for the US? And did Prime Minister Modi compromise his own country or betray Russia to get this deal done? Come on, let's see what is really happening with this deal. On February 6, 2026, an official framework was released by both the White House and India's Commerce Ministry. But this deal didn't happen overnight. It was a result of a very aggressive pressure campaign by the US that began immediately after President Trump took office in 2025. In the very beginning, Trump threatened a reciprocal tariff. This meant that if India charged 50% on US goods, the US would charge 50% on Indian goods. Things got even uglier in mid 2025 because the US was angry that India was buying cheap crude oil from Russia. Consequently, the US imposed a punitive tariff of an extra 25% on Indian goods. This crushed Indian sectors like textiles, gems, and chemicals, forcing India to the negotiating table. In the early 2026, the breakthrough happened. India agreed to stop or drastically reduce buying Russian oil and shift to US energy oil and LNG. In exchange, the US removed the Russian penalty and lowered the basis tariff to 18%. This ended the year-long trade conflict and reset the relationship. Here, the big question is, did India betray Russia? Well, here is the official answer. The Ministry of External Affairs officially denied a total ban. Their spokesperson stated that India's supreme priority is energy security and that they will continue to buy oil from any source that offers the best price. But here, I want to ask you a question. Is India playing a game of semantics? Well, even though the India denies a formal ban on paper, they have effectively agreed to stop buying Russian oils in practice. Here is why. The replacement. India committed to buy 500 billion in US goods, including massive amount of US oils. By committing to buy so much American energy, Indian refineries naturally have no room or budget left to buy Russian oil here. And the next one is the threat. The US removed the 25% of punitive tariff that was hurting the Indian business. If India starts buying Russian oil again, the US can simply put that 25% tax back on. Last but not least, India likely negotiated to let existing contract with Russia, which expire quietly, rather than cancelling them overnight. This allows them to say, we honor contracts while satisfying the US demand. But do you think this proves they have stopped, or do you think they are just saying this officially while buying from Russia in the dark? Remember, Russia has been a time tested friend, while we cannot always trust America. Tell me your opinion in the comment section, guys. Now let's see who wins. The benefits. Let's see the benefits for both the countries here. This deal has clear winners on both sides. The benefits are split between American companies that want to sell to India and the Indian companies that want to export to the US without paying high taxes. Now let's see the benefits on USCA side. Oil and gas companies. They are the very big winners here. Companies like Exxon Mobil and Chevron will win big since India is the world's third largest oil consumer. They are promising to swap Russian oil for American energy, which creates a massive and guaranteed new customer here. Next, farmers. Almonds, walnut, apple growers in California and Washington regain access to Indian market after India removed its retaliatory tariff here. Defense and aerospace. Boeing and defense contractors secure huge wins as the deal includes a commitment for India to purchase roughly 500 billion in goods, including civilian aircraft and military equipments. Next, tech hardware. Manufacturers of heavy machineries and medical devices can now sell to India duty free as India eliminated duties on all US industrial goods. These are the benefits for USA. Now let's see the benefits for India side. Textile and garment markets. Hubs like Tirupur and Ludhiana were facing a potential 50% tariff, which would have destroyed them. Now the tax is cut to 18%, allowing them to compete with Vietnam and China and win back orders from brands like Gap or Wall. Next one, diamond and jewelry industry. The deals allows Indian gems from Surat to enter the US at 0% duty. Since the US is the biggest buyer of published, sorry, of, of polished diamonds, this is a massive boost. Next one, pharma companies. Generic makers like Sun Pharma also get 0% duty access, protecting them from price hikes and keeping affordable Indian medicines in US pharmacies. Last but not least, IT and data centers. Lower tariff on US hardware like GPUs reduce the cost of building data centers in India, which is crucial for the AI boom. But we need to know the harsh reality. Was this a blackmail? Because many critics in India are calling this an unequal treaty or arm twisting. Here is the honest breakdown of why it looked like a bad deal on paper versus why the Indian government signed it anyway. Let me tell you, wait. Why it looks like a loss for India? Let's see on that perspective. You are right that the US got the aggressive win, the 0 versus 18 gap. India gave 0% tax access to many American goods, while the US only reduced their tax to 18%. That is not a level of playing field. This is something uneven, guys. Okay, we accept. The next one, the oil penalty. India was saving billions by buying discounted Russian oil. Now it has to buy American oil at market price, meaning India loses money. This sounds like we are losing so much. Next one, 500 billion bill. India is forced to spend its foreign reserves on American products rather than shopping best around for the best global price. And this also sounds like, oh my god, we are facing almost loss, right? Now let's see the same thing. Why the India signed even though they know? Come on. If the deal is so bad, why did PM Modi agree? Because the alternative was an economic disaster here. The gun to the head scenario. Just imagine the US had already raised the tariff to 50%. At that rate, Indian textile and diamond hubs were collapsing. They could not compete with Vietnam or Bangladesh. Next one, survival. There are two options, guys. Either we need to survive or we need to win the game. Here we focus on survival. See, look, signed this deal not to win, but to survive. Let me explain you. Getting the tax down to 18% saves millions of jobs that were about to vanish. The lesser of two evils, guys. Paying 18% tax is painful, I agree, but paying 50% is fatal. Now you have the question, like, was this a blackmail? In geopolitics, they call it leverage. But yes, it functions like a blackmail. I don't say this is not a blackmail. Now we have another doubt here. Why couldn't India just say no? You ask the billion-dollar question, guys. If a shopkeeper like India is being bullied by a customer like USA, why doesn't the shopkeeper just ban him and sell to someone else? The simple answer is the USA is the only customer that makes India rich. That is why India is trapped with the USA. The profit problem, guys. The US is one of the only major countries where India makes a massive profit of selling 80 billion more than it buys from USA. With China and Russia, India operates at a loss. If India fights the US, it loses its only major source of profit. Next one, the service trap. India's IT sectors rely entirely on the US. You cannot sell English technical support to China or Russia. If the US stops outsourcing, the millions of Indian engineers loses their jobs overnight. Next one, the rich customer factor. India sells luxury goods like diamonds and specialized items like medicines that need a rich customer base. Africa and South America are friendly, but they don't have that money to replace the US market. It means there is no alternative. Uh, if India said no, America could simply buy textiles from Vietnam or diamonds from Belgium. It would cost them a little more, but they would survive, guys. America will survive. The same thing will not happen to India because on India, however, has no replacement for the American market. India is like a company where 70% of the profit comes from one client. Even if the client is demanding, the company cannot fire them because no one else has pockets deep enough to take their place. India signed this deal to save its industry, not because it was fair. Thank you guys. Let's meet on another video.